Quackenbush is sponsored by the Word on Wealth Radio Network. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary is a San Diego financial solutions attorney protecting people like you. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future.
Tuesday live
on the Word on Wealth. Hey, friends, I'm so happy that you're here listening, not only because it gives me somebody to talk to, but I can just imagine people that are tuning their sets. You used to grab a dial and have to twist a little thing and, then it'll go Tuesday live. Well, here we are on the Word on Wealth. And I am very grateful for those of you who listen.
That's a pretty accurate sound effect, by the way, Gary. I just want to point that out.
It's pretty cool. We used to compare that to like listening to the right things, and we'd have a youth group in one room and then somebody else outside, and they had their radio wasn't quite tuned in right, so it was squelchy, and then they would turn it in right and they could hear the person, and they're like going, now you can hear me. And that's like focusing on the right things. And now it's digital. It either doesn't work or it does. So, but here we are. I think we're digital. Seems like it. All I do is push a button and then someone talks in my left ear. Welcome to the Word on Wealth, everybody. You've got me, attorney Gary Quackenbush, in San Diego, California, and you have my producer and board operator today, and that is Noah Ding Lee. So Noah will be announcing part of the show, and most of the time he's just going to be sitting there quietly in the background, racing around and making it sound like this thing is a seamless train.
So well-oiled sundial. I want to point that out.
That's what I meant, was a well-oiled sundial. My adage was wrong. So welcome to the Word on Wealth. Today, we are talking about 100% estate planning. The rundown for the week. On Mondays, we do Medicare answer guy, Jim Robeson. On Tuesday, it is me, attorney Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Wednesday, we've got Ken Peckus. Kenny Peckus is a real estate agent. He's a realtor, absolutely phenomenal. I can't speak any higher of any realtor than him. He's going to be on the air tomorrow. You literally, seriously have to tune in, because Goldman Sachs came out with this prediction of what's going to happen to San Diego County home prices. And I looked at it and went, I think that's outrageous. So Goldman Sachs, big deal. We're going to talk about that tomorrow with Kenny Peckus of Peckus Realty. And then Thursday, we got Anthony Wright, our favorite financial guy. And Friday, we are on the air with an author and publisher, incredible guy we're going to be talking to on Friday. So we got this week lined up. So today, you got me and Noah all the way. I wanted to ask her, first of all, answer a few questions that have come up. I had one of my clients actually asked me today. I was meeting with a gal that she listens to the show quite frequently, and she said, what are you going to talk about today? And I told her, I don't know. I still have an hour to think about it. But I think about these things all the time. So I always have these questions come up, and I'm rephrasing them so that we can protect the innocent and protect the guilty as well, and protect client privacy, because that's super important to me, especially as an attorney. So here we go. So the question number one was as follows. Gary, my parents died a year ago, and I am the trustee of their trust. I have been able to make most of the distributions, but my dad had a stock account in his name. The stock account is worth $440,000, and the investment company won't let me touch it. They say I need to get a court order to get the money. What court order are they talking about? My parents have a trust. Why do I need a court order? That question comes up all the time, and it's an excellent question. What happened is mom and dad had a trust, which was awesome. From the way the question is worded, obviously most of the property that mom and dad owned was in the trust. So their house is in the trust. So when they died and it said it goes to my daughter, the house then passes to the daughter because it's in the trust, titled properly. So when parents died, it now became under the authority of the daughter, successor trustee, in the administrative trust. And the daughter was able to make that distribution to the beneficiary, who was herself. So that was perfect. Any bank accounts that were less than Well, if any bank account titled in the name of the trust, like I was reviewing a couple of trusts today, the bank accounts were in the trust. The property tax receipt showed that the house is in the trust. I had another one, the investment account was in the trust, and it's pretty obvious because I'm looking at the statements and it's saying family trust on it. So it was pretty obvious. In the case we're talking about now is there's a stock account, $440,000 in the dad's name. Mom and dad are both dead. There's no way the successor trustee can touch it for two reasons. One, the successor trustee is only allowed to touch money that's in the trust, and the stock account is not in there. The stock account is in his name only. Okay. Number two reason the successor trustee can't touch it is because she doesn't have, because the stock account is over $180,400. $180,400. So if you have money that is outside of your trust when you die and it exceeds $180,400, that's the probate court jurisdictional limit. Anything above that forces it to probate. So this account 440 obviously is above 180. It needs to go to probate. So what they're talking about, the court order, is going to probate court and getting an order appointing the daughter as the executor of the will of the estate, not of the trust, but of the will, which is the estate. And then she can get an order to carry out the wishes of the will, the person that put the will together. Now that will is a pour over will. So the will says, when I die, it would be in dad's name, insert dad's name. When I, dad, die, I want all of my property, all of my assets, wherever located, to be transferred to my living trust. Okay. So the will is trying to put the stock account into the living trust, but it exceeds $180,000 and the bank won't let it happen. The investment account house won't let it happen because it's too big. If, however, let's change the scenario and say the stock account is worth $140,000. Well, if it's worth 140, then we can do what's called a small estate affidavit. And that affidavit says that it's small enough to pass by affidavit. And then we just do a declaration that says that the trustee is basically the intended recipient of that money so that she can put it in the trust and make that distribution. But when it's too big, it has to go through probate. So that's the way it works. Okay. The probate court order will come out. We can get one super fast, probably in 2 months is about as fast as you can get a probate court order, the way the courts are running now. And you'd have an order to move that money from dad's bank account to the probate bank account, not to the trust yet, to the probate bank account. Then we got to finish up the probate, which is going to take about 8 months or 9 months. Then that money can go to the trust. Then it can be distributed to the beneficiaries. So, moral of the story, make sure your money is in your trust. Bottom line, if it's not there, get it there. It's not always by a pay on death designation or beneficiary designation. It is actually, the account is titled in the name of that trust. That's what you should be doing. If you need help with that, please do not hold off any longer. Call my office right away, 855-500-TRUST, 855-500-TRUST, and let's talk about it. It's really getting busy because we got tax time coming up and this kind of stuff is happening all over the place. I'm seeing people that have, stock accounts and they thought, 2 years ago, oh, whatever, it's only worth $50,000. It's only worth $100,000. Well, then it went up like 3 or 4 times last year. It dropped a little bit this year. But if you've got money in bank accounts, not in your trust, and it's anywhere near 180,000 combined, that might be 6 or 8 accounts. You've got to get those things in the trust or else it's going to go through probate. The probate put the money into the trust, but it's still a probate and a trust. That's better than not having a trust, but we got to be careful and fund things properly. I'd be happy to help you out with that 855-500-TRUST. Hey, if you got a question for me, ask me. 888-344-1170. Be part of the show. Call me right now, 888-344-1170.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Well with Gary Quackenbush. We are here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST. You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is Faith-Based Investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christian families don't understand this one thing. The money that you're saving for retirement helps fund the abortion industry as well as other liberal anti-family causes. It's the sad, dirty little secret of American investing world. And here's the good news, though. You probably also didn't know that just a few minutes of your time and we'll screen and clean your investments for you. There's no cost, no obligation. Learn the truth about your own investment mix. Then the choice is yours. Remember, the word says when God's money is in the hands of the righteous, the people rejoice. Well, we also are fiduciary investment advisor representatives. That means that our firm makes a pledge to always act in your best interest. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com. Download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing, or call me at 931-RETIRED. And please don't forget, listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
Gary, your team at GQ Law are experts at solving IRS and state tax problems. Talk about that.
When people have a tax problem, it tends to really stress them out. And one of the things we've been able to do is figure out how to resolve tax problems. One thing we might be doing is setting up a payment plan or getting a collection delay, maybe getting a determination that the person shouldn't have to pay the taxes at all. We do offers and compromise. We do audit reconsiderations. And one of the things that's a really powerful tool that some people don't recognize is sometimes bankruptcy can be used to actually eliminate taxes when there's certain conditions of the code that are met. So we can do all kinds of things. After we analyze your situation, we can figure out what's available, discuss your options, and figure out which ones to implement, what it's going to cost, how long it's going to take. And we can get people out from under all kinds of tax problems so they can sleep again. That's our goal.
Request your free initial consultation. GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com. Listen to The James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, Sundays at 8 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego. The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life radio show is here to inspire you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. James Cooley is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. Life is full of circles and cycles, phases and stages. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, Sundays at 8 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego.
This is Dennis Prager inviting you to join me for an extraordinary trip.
About this broadcast outreach,
Case of the week or no?
Gary Quackenbush of GQ.
All righty.
Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. GQLaw.com.
It is now time for the Gary Quackenbush GQ Law Case of the Week.
Thank you, friends, for being along, and I really appreciate you. The case of the week is as follows. Okay, so this was, I call this Be Like Seth. Okay, Seth, his mom passed away. She was actually pretty young, and it was very interesting because his mom passed away young, and at the time I was a lot younger, and I thought his mom was like, wow, she's about my age when she passed away. So when she had died, she was worried about, she had been on Medi-Cal for her whole life. She owned a home in San Diego. The home value, it was crazy how much the home value went up, but she'd owned the home for like 30 years and she was on Medi-Cal. So they still paid Medi-Cal benefits because you can own a home and still receive Medi-Cal. She had these terrible arthritic problems, these terrible hip problems. Well, she figured erroneously that when she died, the federal government would just take her house to pay for all the, the medical bills that they'd covered and all the support that she'd gotten over the years. Well, she was just wrong. She had that wrong. She died, and it was a good time for real estate. The house got sold to somebody that wanted to, basically fix it up and sell it again. And they paid a lot of money. So Seth was her only child. And I thought, well, this will be interesting. I knew Seth as a kid. This will be interesting to see what he does with this. Well, Seth was married at the time, and when he sold the house, he had this money, and it was a lot. It was about $500,000, and it was a ton of money for Seth. He was married, didn't have any kids yet. What did the guy do? What would you think a young married person would do with $500,000? Well, he wasn't living in San Diego at the time. He bought 2 cars and 2 houses, okay, with $500,000. He couldn't have done that in San Diego. Remember, he just sold the house and netted $500,000. The car he bought, $18,000 brand new. The second car he bought, used, paid about $10,000 for it. This guy's being conservative because his mom wanted to make sure he was taken care of. So he didn't go and just like blow and go, I'm going to buy something really big. And then he lived in another state where he could afford to buy a big house for like $400,000, but he didn't. He bought a house that was very modest that he and his wife fit into, including expansion for children. And then he bought his second property as a rental. So now he has a rental, which is paying him money to put away in his retirement account. So I thought it was brilliant. So my purpose of this story is like, be like Seth. When you inherit money, just be careful. It is a windfall. It's huge. Just think where it came from. Somebody put it away. It earned money. Somebody managed, coddled, cared for, whatever with that money to make it what it is. And when you inherit it, you really should be careful. I mean, I know the temptation. I had one client tell me he inherited money, and he had a lot of regrets. I mean, he was what was he, mid-70s, and his thing is, he said, yeah, I inherited, $1 million from my grandpa, like a long time ago, like 45 years beforehand. And he thought, I was rich. I had $1 million. I was 30 years old. And he said, and I basically over the next 20 years spent every penny of it, nothing left. Had to go, had to obviously start working and whatever. But he said, I just feel it was crazy. And if I had that $1 million, and if I did it properly, I could have just lived off the interest. And today it would be $1 million, and I would have been living off the interest all the time. But it's just, be careful. Get a financial advisor. Listen to our show on Thursday. You're going to be talking to Anthony Wright. We'll have him here and help you invest your money. But be like Seth, just like Seth. Honor your decedent. The parent or the grandparent that gave you that money doesn't really want you to blow it. I really doubt it. If they wanted you to just go crazy and spend it, they would have given it to you, or they would have spent it with you. But I don't believe that people that save up their money for 20 or 30 or 40 years, I don't think they really want you to just throw it away or waste it or have a great time and party it away. I really don't think that. Case number 2. All right. The purpose of this case, there's always a purpose behind the case of the week. Because if you wanted to hear my cases of the week, the cases that I went through last week, I have like 12 new cases of the week from last week, but they're too new, so I can't talk about them. I love my job. I have this incredible opportunity to talk to people every day about their personal situations. And what I have determined, and it's no shock, no surprise to anybody, is that everybody's different. Whatever you decide to do with your estate plan, it's okay. You're not going to get, I'm not going to get on my soapbox unless you really want me to, but I'm not going to get on my soapbox and tell you, yes, you should do this. No, you should do that. I'm going to give you options, and you're going to get, here's these things you can do. What are your thoughts? What do you want to do? What's your end game? What's the goal? Okay, I'm going to tell you the goods and the bads, the consequences, tax consequences, or whatever you want to talk about. And we'll figure out whether that option really works out when you use your pencil and calculator. Does it really work out? Does it do what you want it to? Is it possible? Is it enforceable? It may sound good on paper, but it may never work because of, you got me. I've been doing this for 33, 34 years coming up. And I can tell you what things will work and what won't. I mean, some things sound like a great idea, but then when it gets challenged in court, it's a bad idea. All right. Next question, case of the week. Okay. Mom dies. So dad died a long time ago. So mom owns a house. The trust specifically says that the house goes to all 6 kids. Specifically says that. Now that's different. Most trusts will say, when I die, give everything I own to 6 kids. If you have 6 kids, obviously. But in this case, it said the house goes to all 6 kids. Don't ever expect me to do that. It's a bad idea for 100 different reasons, but that's the way this was set up. Mom died and the kids don't want to share the house. They don't want to be co-owners. I don't want to be co-owners. I mean, a rental property or a home, and you're going to share it with 5 of your siblings that live all over the place. That's just not a good idea. For most people, it just doesn't work. It leads to, I'm going to hate my sister now. But one of the kids wanted to come and buy out the others. So they, okay, great. Well, the challenge now is that the trust says that all 6 kids get the house. That means each kid inherits 1/6. So this one kid wants to buy all the others out. It is literally a buyout. So he's going to have to pay each of the other 5, and it may be from some other source of inheritance. It may be because, let's just say, let's make big numbers. Let's just say the house is worth, let's just do $100,000. I know it's way more than that. So let's say, okay, the house is worth $200,000. Okay, but the entire estate is worth $1.2 million. So that means each kid inherits $200,000. So what happens is then one kid decides, hey, I want to own the house. Let me have that as my $200,000 share. The trustee could hand that kid the title because that would be their full inherited share. The kid moves into the property. There's no property tax reassessment because it's excluded. That would be okay if the trust just said my house, everything goes to my 6 kids. It's not specifically stated the house goes to the 6. Okay. So general distribution, everything goes equally to the kids. One of the kids gets the title of the house and it just happens to be his 1/6 share. Okay. That you're going to qualify for the Prop 19 property tax exclusion. So it's not going to get reassessed. Okay. That's pretty typical. Now, in this case, mom said the house goes to all 6. So it doesn't matter how much is in the estate. If all the kids decide, no, we're gonna let our brother buy us out, it's still, he's 5/6 of that is going to be reassessed because it was on the date of death, technically now belonging to all 6 kids, and they've decided that 5 of them didn't want it. That means those 5 are transferring the property to their brother. That's not an excluded transaction. That's where you're going to get a problem. So I don't like specifically stating what's going to happen to a house, especially if there's a possibility that one of the kids is going to want to own it. Houses are tricky. We think real estate, we think of real estate like our children. I think we just really get kind of caught up in that, real estate's amazing and this is all perfect and wonderful. Yeah, it is, but real estate, it's just, it's real estate. I just don't think it's worth it to be emotionally attached to real estate. I know what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about, I just don't think it's a great idea to be emotionally attached to your real estate, especially when you're doing an estate plan, because when you pass away, what's going to happen? I mean, it's possible that the kids may not want that house. All right. So be careful with titling your property. Be careful with distributing houses to kids. If you want to talk about it, I am game. Give me a call, 855-500-TRUST. Also, call me on the air right now, 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. Call me up. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out how we're going to get you guys' question answered. And I can get my notes here to come back up. Oh my goodness. I just deleted it accidentally. And now I am back living amongst the living. All right. You want more questions? Let me answer some more questions. Okay. So here's another one. Dear Gary, I just bought life insurance and the company wants me to name a beneficiary. Is it best to name my wife or the trust as the beneficiary? Good question. Thanks for asking. You want to have the life insurance go into the trust after your death. So what's going to happen is technically the beneficiary is your trust, but the way it actually goes is the beneficiary is the successor trustee of your trust. You're going to log on to the life insurance company, or you're going to talk to a life insurance person and say, I want that money. When I die, I want it to go to my living trust. And they're going to ask you, what's the name of your trust? You give them the official name of your trust. When was it created? You give them the date of creation. Is it revocable by the grantor. Well, you're the grantor, and yes, it's revocable. So those are the questions you're going to answer. Always put life insurance going to the trust, because answering your question, sir, when you die, that money goes into the trust. Who has access to the trust? Your wife. Exactly. So you just want that to happen that way.
One
You don't
minute.
have to have a primary, secondary, anything beneficial. You can just put the trust. If you want to put your wife or kids as secondary, fine, fine. But I always want life insurance to go into the trust. I got 2 more questions I'm going to answer when we coming up next. I want to, somebody said, well, when does a trust go to probate, for crying out loud? Does it really go to probate? I heard the other day that somebody went to probate in a trust. How could that be? I want to answer that question. And then a question that comes up way too much, not way too much, but all the time is, so Gary, how do I put my bank account or my credit union account in the trust? I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to go specifically. I'll tell you exactly how to do that coming up next year on the Word on Wealth. This is Gary Quackenbush. To get a hold of me at my office, it's 855-500-TRUST. And to be on this show and ask me a question so I can tailor it exactly to what you want to know, now's your chance. 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. This is Gary Quackenbush on the Word on Wealth.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com. You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's GQlaw.com, 855-TRUST.
You're live.
Right. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. We're so good to have you along. Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is Gary Quackenbush. And we're going to take a caller right now. Kyle from San Diego. Hey, Kyle, how you doing? Welcome to the Word on Wealth.
Thank you, Gary. Great to have you. Have me, sorry. What's on the end?
So what can I help you with today?
I just a couple quick questions. So I'm in I'm a waiter in a restaurant, and I signed in with the signed up for the Cal Savings trading, Cal Savings, which they take 10% of my paycheck each pay period, and I believe they invested into like different Roth IRAs. I was just wondering if that's something that you agree with, or is it a good thing or not a good thing?
You know, Kyle, that's an interesting question. Because what happens is the Cal Savers account that you have, that's because that was the minimum, because you didn't have your own retirement account, your employer is required to put money into a Cal Savers account. And yeah, it's a Roth style IRA. They don't earn a whole lot. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed to do that. I mean, that would be a better question for on Thursday when Anthony Wright is on the phone. But all I know about the Cal Savers account is they're not really put anywhere exciting. They're in accounts that just don't earn that much. They're very secure. That's the whole idea, because, you know, Cal Savers doesn't want to, you know, do anything, you know, risky with your money. But usually, you know, once you get a few dollars in there, it's always better to talk to your own financial advisor and get something set up, like get your own Roth IRA.
Okay.
And then, you know, basically if you have your own Roth IRA, then you could have your employer, instead of putting it into the Cal Savers, you know, have an auto withdrawal out of your paycheck and go to your own account. And then you can manage it yourself, and you can have your own online account and move it around. But with Cal Savers, it's just not possible. It just goes into, you know, really low earning, really secure account.
Okay. Now, is that something you would recommend then, as far as, I mean, I got about just under 5,000 in the last year and a half. Now, can I take that 5,000 and put it into a Roth IRA, or what's your suggestion?
My understanding, and check with Cal Savers, but Cal Savers is a Roth style IRA, because it's not deductible. So it's Roth style. It comes out.
Right.
Yeah. You don't get a deduction for it. So, but if you wanted, see with Cal Savers is you can't decide where the money is put for an investment. Like you can't say, I want to put this money in in the S&P 500, or I want to buy, stock in Smucker's jelly. You can't do that. They won't let you. So what you do is you set up your own account, your own IRA with whatever institution you're going to do it with, and then have that institution go and grab this money from Cal Savers and put it into your account. And then you can figure out what to do with the money.
Very good. Very good. Awesome.
Good question. Yeah.
Well,
Tune in on, that's probably something you want to talk to. You could talk to Anthony on Friday about that. I'm sorry, on Thursday.
Okay.
He's going to be on the show at 2:00 on Thursday. Thanks for calling, Kyle.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate
All
it.
right. Thanks for being a guest on the Word on Wealth.
Francine Coronado.
We've got, okay, we still have lines open. If you want to give us a call, it's 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. And then we're going to take another call from Christine. Is that right? Francine from Coronado. Francine, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, I was very interested in your example about leaving a house to your children. We have 4 properties and 2 children, and in my own mind, I want to leave property 1 and 3 to one of the children and 2 and 4 to another child. We do have a revocable living trust, and right now everything is in the trust.
Okay, that's great. Congratulations on having a trust and on having your houses in the trust. So what is your question about the houses? Because you want to give 2 to each kid. Lucky kids, that's fantastic.
Will they have to pay anything because it's in a trust and it's not directly to them? And then how do they divide? I haven't specified which house goes to which child. How would they figure it out? I mean, I told them, but does it matter if it's in the trust, or is it better to just give a house to a child?
Okay, so it is, in my opinion, it is almost never better to gift a house to a child. It's always better to let the child inherit it if they're going to get a house. So that's one issue. And that has to do with taxation, capital gains issue, capital gains tax. See, because if a child inherits a house from you, then the property tax basis of that property gets reset to fair market value. So if they sell it later, the starting point is going to be the value at the date of your death. Okay. If you gift it to them, then the starting point for the capital gains calculation is whatever you paid for it, whatever your basis is in that property.
So they'll just inherit the trust, and then they'll have to figure out how to deal with the assets in the trust.
Yes. If your property, basically, if you say all my kids, I mean, yeah, basically all my property goes to my kids in equal shares.
Yeah.
Then the kids are the ones that decide with the successor trustee. They're the ones that decide which house goes to who, how, and you have to settle it up because you have to do it, exact dollar amounts and figure out, is somebody going to get these two houses and some money and the other person gets just these houses, they're going to have to settle it up. And I just think from an estate planning perspective, that's going to be the better way to go, because you're not going to have any, transfer gift issues or anything like that. You want to let the kids inherit the house so that the purchase basis is higher so they can sell it later and not have a big tax consequence.
Well, it was, previously, I made it some kind of a deed so that when I died, it would go to my children. But then I revoked that deed when I did the revocable living trust. And I'm wondering if I did the right thing, if I should have just let it be deeded to the children.
No, you did the right thing. I don't like those deeds. We call them death deeds, where it transfers on death. And I think they're horrible, because part of the estate plan, part of the purpose of the estate plan is to make sure that you are taken care of for your whole life. I mean, if you became incapacitated, which there's a 70% chance, 70% of us will become incapacitated before we die, which means you need a lot of money because you're unhealthy or something's going on, but you don't have the ability to manage your money. That money can be managed through your trust by your successor trustee. So you want these properties in your trust so they can generate income and all that. And then you don't, and then once you do pass away, the kids get the properties from the trust as inherited properties. But the death deed it's kind of a cheap shortcut. So I'm really glad you got a trust instead, because the trust is going to have a lot better control over the property. And that's what you want at this point. It's amendable, changeable. You can adjust the things, but way, way, way better to do living trust like you did. Congratulations on that, Francine.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Francine, for asking those questions. That's really terrific to have the live questions. If you want to call and be part of the show and ask me a question, the number is 888-344-1170, 888-344-1170. You're listening to The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. All right. When we come back, I want to ask a couple of different questions. I have two more. If we get a caller, answer their question instead. But we're going to talk about exactly how to get a bank account into a living trust, because there's some kind of confusion on that. I get people that are saying, I got it taken care of, Gary. My bank account says right there, when I die, it goes to my trust. And that's not the best way to do it. I've also had people say, Gary, I put my investment account in my trust. I said, awesome. Show me the statement. The statement still says their personal name. I said, how did you do it? Oh, well, it says on my death, it goes, that's not the way to do it. All right. So I want to show you how that works specifically coming up here on The Word on Wealth. If you want any help with this stuff and you want to do it personally offline instead of doing it on the air, that's okay. Go to my website, gqlaw.com. That's GQ like Gary Quackenbush, my initials, gqlaw.com. And on the website, there's a bunch of free things. And the one I recommend initially is the one called Living Trust Basics. It's a book. It's only 19 pages long. It's an outline format, and it's the basics of living trust. It compares the living trust, the different types, explains about wills and power of attorneys. It's free. You just go to my website, gqlaw.com. You click on the thing that looks like a book cover, and you're going to get an ebook. It's a PDF that gets emailed to you. Just put in your name and your email address. Living Trust Basics. The other thing you can do while you're there is if you have questions regarding like an LLC or a corporation, which one should I have? There's a book called Accidentally Self-Employed. It compares the different entity types, LLC, corporation, again on gqlaw.com. We'll be right back.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Well with Gary Quackenbush. We are here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
Asking about trust disputes and whether or not they'll actually get the inheritance they're expecting.
I think that's a scary thing for most people because they feel like, if I ask my successor trustee, hey, where's my inheritance? You kind of feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being like rude or whatever, inconsiderate. But I'm telling you, if time goes on, if it's been like 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, that's too long to have heard nothing. You're supposed to hear fairly soon, like within a couple of months after someone's passed, you should be hearing from that successor trustee. And if you're not, I think there's an issue we need to address. So it's not like we're going to go screaming in there, filing lawsuits. We kind of use gentle nudges like, hey, do you know what you're doing? Successor trustee, we kind of want to help you do your job, and we help beneficiaries kind of get things straightened out.
Call or click to request your free initial consultation. gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, gqlaw.com.
If you If you own a vehicle you no longer need, donate it to ChristiansWhoCare.org. You've heard about Christians Who Care Ministries car donation programs since 2005 here on KPRZ KCBQ. The charity was born right here in San Diego East County. Your donation of virtually any vehicle, car, truck, or van, running or not, is 100% tax deductible. It's easy to donate. Pastor Paul and his team at Christians Who Care Ministries are ready to accept your donation or answer any questions. Call toll-free at 888-488-5808 or use their simple online donation form at ChristiansWhoCare.org. They'll call within 24 hours to arrange your free vehicle pickup. You'll receive your tax-deductible receipt. ChristiansWhoCare.org is an IRS-approved 501c3 nonprofit ministry. Call 888-488-5808 to learn more.
Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Well, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST, gqlaw.com.
Good line.
Okay, I'm answering questions here on the Word on Wealth. This is Gary Quackenbush. I'm a California attorney. I know you guys know that already. Just wanted to clarify, California, not New York. We're in California, San Diego area. Man, wow. Just look outside and go, it is so pretty. Let's see. Oh, about putting bank accounts in a trust account. I'm sorry. I digress a little bit here because I kind of forget things. So, okay. We're talking about funding a trust. And you're probably thinking, Gary, you talk about this all the time. What the heck? Well, how many of you have a fully funded trust? If you have a fully funded trust, seriously, everything you own is in that trust. Call me right now and I will congratulate you on the air. And you're going to be heard on 2 stations, 4 channels all around the county, all the way up to Orange County. And I'm going to congratulate you because I don't think it's possible. People just don't do it. Most people do not have their car in the trust. I don't. I know I need to, but I don't. My dad did when he died, and it made it a piece of cake. I'm going, thank you, Dad. Gary, get off the stick and do yours. But to get everything fully funded in the trust is some work, but it is fantastic for the people that you leave here. If you're leaving them money, don't leave them a mess. Get this stuff put in there. But the big problem, a vehicle's never a big problem. It just isn't. There's a waiting period if you don't have it actually titled in the name of the trust and stuff, but it's not a big deal. Bank accounts are. The way it works is we say you need to put your bank account in the trust. Okay, there's no box that you can just take the bank statement and toss it in the box and now it's in the trust. What you're doing is everything is changing title. So if okay, this is the way it works. So let's say I go to, let's say, Mission Federal Credit Union. They're a great credit union. I go to Mission Federal and I say, hey, Yvonne, I want to put my checking account and my savings account that I have with you. I want to put them in my trust. And Yvonne will say, Gary, I want to introduce you to Susie. She is the new accounts person. I said, well, I don't want a new account. I just want to put my checking account and my savings account into my living trust so that my successor trustee has control of that money when I'm gone or incapacitated. And she says, I know. Meet Susie, new accounts. So then Susie will give me an application and she'll give me a document called a certification of trust and have me fill that out. She'll have me fill out the application to open a new account in the name of the Gary and Cheryl Quackenbush Trust dated November 1st, 2020, or no, longer, 2001. So I'm going to have to open a brand new account. Well, what good does that do? Well, it's in the account, it's in my trust, and now it's connected to my personal accounts. So there's accounts that say Gary and Cheryl, and there's accounts that say trust. And I just go online and I just move the money over, drag and drop, or do transfers, whatever. I put that money in my trust. So if the account that it is sitting in says that, Quackenbush Family Trust, that is, quote, in the trust. Who gets to spend that money? Oh my gosh, it's not in my name anymore. It doesn't say Gary Quackenbush is the account holder. No, it says the Gary and Cheryl Quackenbush Family Trust. It's the trustee of that trust. Who's the trustee? Yep, me. So I have control. Cheryl has control. It's in the trust. Any money we deposit in there, it's in the trust. Any money we take out of there, it leaves the trust. So I have most of my money put in the trust. Do I have bank accounts out of the trust? Oh, yes, I do, of course. Because online setting them up in the trust depends on where you go. Alley Bank, piece of cake. Chase, it was a piece of cake. Okay. But most of the time, when you do a bank and you want to do, a new account in the name of a trust, you can't do it online. San Diego County Credit Union would not let me do it online. And so you have to go in, but that's fine. You can do it. Takes you an hour, get it all set up. Then you can do transfers between accounts and all that. But that is in the trust. If you set up an account in your bank and you have accounts in your name and in the trust name, and the accounts that are in your name exceed $180,000 and you die, it is going to probate. The probate court has to give you an order to move that $180,000 plus into the bank account. Okay, so just opening the account, just setting up a trust doesn't do anything. You have to put money in the account. You have to put money in that trust. Okay. Investment accounts. I talked to a guy the other day and he said, did it, done. My investment account is in my trust. I said, awesome. Let me see. He showed me the statement and I said, that still has your name on it. He says, yep, but it's in there. I said, when is it in there? He said, I talked to my advisor and I said, I want this money in my trust. And he said, okay, what's the name of your trust? Who's the trustee? Who's the successor trustee? Wrote it all down, said, okay, done. Talk to your advisor, ask what that means. And the advisor told him, I put it in as a TOD, transfer on death. That's not in the trust right now. It's not in the trust yet. When he dies, it'll go in the trust. Okay, so that's better than not doing anything. But what I want is to put the account in the trust now. Okay, so I go to Schwab. I have an IRA at Schwab and I have an investment account at Schwab. And I tell Schwab, hey, I want all my money in my trust. And Schwab says, can't do it. What do you mean you can't do it? You're my guy. I want you to put it in my trust. Can't do it. What can't you do? We can't move all of your money in the trust. Okay, what money can you put into the trust? Oh, everything but the IRA. Great. Thanks for telling me. IRAs cannot sit in a trust. It's not possible because the IRAs are held by the custodian of that account. It could be Schwab, but they're holding it as an inherited IRA and they are the custodian. So they're not going to put it directly in your trust account. They can't. Everything else they can. And that's what you got to do. Just get things transferred in your trust. Then I was talking to a person today and her question was, well, can I change my mind about what? Can I change my mind about who I'm giving my money to? Yes, that's why it's a living trust. Living means you set it up while you're alive. Living means the document is still changeable. Family trust, grantor trust, settlor's trust, they're all the same thing. It's a revocable document. And we just call it revocable. You could say it's amendable and revocable. But when you use the term revocable, you mean it can be amended and deleted. So that's kind of be the same, two different functions, but the same kind of authority. So if your trust is revocable, yes, you can amend it anytime you want. And we're happy to do that. If you want to talk about an amendment, I do it all the time, several times a week. Call me 855-500-TRUST. If you got a question for me, you got about 2 minutes to call me, 888-344-1170. Remember, go to my website and get my book. It's called Living Trust Basics. If you already know everything you need to know about living trust, then go on my website and put in the name and email of your child who has your grandchild who doesn't have a trust because they need one. They need one more than you because they've got children. If you have children, if you have grandchildren, so first of all, if you have grandchildren and your children do not have a trust, and specifically a beneficiary designation, like, if they passed away, who's going to take care of their kids? That's a big deal. You've got to get that taken care of. Offer to pay for it or something. If they're can't figure out who they like, just tell them who you like. Go to the appointment with them, but they need to get a guardian designation because if something happens to those parents, they pass away, the kids, it is not good for them. Unfortunately, the court has no choice but to put them in the foster care until there's a guardianship approval, and they are taking between 3 and 4 months to get now, which is miserable. They're just really slow. So if the guardian is designated by a will or by a nomination of guardian, if those things are done, then if your child and in-law child pass away, then whoever's designated a guardian can take the kids temporarily while they are petitioning for guardianship. So if your kids have kids, please tell them to get a trust. Tell them to get an estate plan. Tell them to get a guardian designation. Okay. What if your kid has no money? They're going to go, Mom, seriously, stay out of my life. No, I'm talking about your grandchildren, and I can be in their life because I am. So get a trust. And then they say, I have no money. I don't have an estate. There's this thing called life insurance. And so if your son gets life insurance, and let's just say, oh, I don't know, $500,000 or $1 million, which is going to cost him next to nothing, especially nowadays. And that life insurance beneficiary is, yep, the trust. Does he have an estate? Well, he doesn't right now, but he will when he's dead, because it'll put that $1 million into the trust. And now you have this fully funded trust. His wife can benefit from it. His kids can benefit from it. If mom and dad both pass away, now the kids have this trust with all the life insurance proceeds, and they get somebody to be able to take care of them. They got money to take care of them. So if you don't have a house or something like that, then get life insurance, get a trust, designate who's going to be your guardian. Okay. That's the way it works, guys. It's easy pleasy for me, at least, and at least I can explain it to you. I'm glad you're listening, so that you know how that all works. My number is 855-500-TRUST. I'm happy to help you out. Go on to my website, get my book, Living Trust Basics. Send it to your friends, put your friend's email in there. Basically, you can get that book and you can give it to anybody so that they can at least see that you're Living Trust Basics and learn a little bit. Tell them to listen to the show and we'll talk about it. They can call in. They can call me at the office, 855-500-TRUST. My goal is to get the world that is California, is to get Southern California all trusted. I want everybody to have a trust. I want it so that when you do pass away, because it's going to happen, I don't know when, we don't know when, but it's going to happen. You want everything in order so that it's not such a big hassle. It's hard enough to have somebody pass away, but then to have to deal with a mess and try to figure out what they wanted and be guessing about what they want done with this, what they want done with that. It's nice to have that all laid out. So do your family a favor, get a trust. I'm happy to help you out with that. Go to my website, get my book, gqlaw.com. Talk to you tomorrow, everybody, with Ken Peckets.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995 with financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help you preserve your family's financial future. The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs. The opinions expressed here do not necessarily represent the views of Salem Media Group or its sponsors. The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush.
Thanks, bud. We'll see you tonight.